On the last session, speakers talked about how people want to travel after isolation. No one mentioned the economy may take a fall so hard that the motivations and incentives will take no effect if there is no money. What are your thoughts? Again, that can basically be to everyone, but maybe James, what are you advising as to what the new normal is going to kind of look like there?
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing we're absolutely saying is don't expect any quick bounce back, right? I think the two things that we've said, one is that this is about rebuilding customer by customer and going after the segments that work. I think that's absolutely critical. And the other is that, frankly, and it probably is the economic impact. I think there's this economic impact. Plus, frankly, we're all so used to new ways of working now that actually it wouldn't surprise me if business doesn't come back to those heady heights for several years, if ever, in the same segments, because I think people are just so much more comfortable that many trips can be done. But to give confidence, though, you know, we're hearing a lot of people saying, actually, you know, looking at America, people are desperate to get back to work. And for a lot of people, getting back to work is travel. And it is, you know, I need to be on the road again, whether that's driving or short flights, and I need to be with my customers, my suppliers, my manufacturers. So, you know, there will be business coming back. I think if you go with that really agile experimentation we were talking about before, you will be able to capture it. But absolutely, you know, it is not going to bounce back to the kind of demand you saw a few months ago, either levels or type, I think, frankly. So you need to go hunting. I think you need to kind of, it's going to be a hustle game of, you know, how quickly can you turn that data into ideas, into experiments, and then into reservations and business.
So,
you on that as well.
I was just going to ask you.
I was just going to say, one of the things that we've seen and I was recommending is also, because, you know, as you say, there's, you know, profitability in businesses has declined. And so how do you look at your hotel spaces and look at alternative use functions of them? And so the idea of the hotel room becoming an office, or I saw in the chat, I responded about Airbnb. It's not necessarily just about putting hotel rooms on Airbnb, but looking at day use experiences and things that do, that are appealing to, you know, a lower cost travel opportunity, and sort of navigating that and, you know, becoming a think tank for those type of situations.
Yeah. And I guess Angelica and Klaus, from a data perspective, are you seeing anything in terms of what people should be expecting? I know it's very difficult to kind of try and forecast that for a market as large as the US, but are there any kind of general trends that you could pick up from the data?
For us, it's definitely too early, because there's just so much uncertainty with lockdowns and government regulations, state regulations. Some markets have only opened about a week ago or tried to reopen a week ago. So it's very early. I don't know what Angelica has to add to that.
Yeah. No, I think that's totally fine. What you just said, yeah, it's certainly very early to make any assumptions around that. And from a shop data, look into where hotels are reopening and when they are and what they're pricing for it. Yeah, it's a little bit too soon in most markets, right?
So no predictions.
Well, I can give you a prediction, but as one of our scientists said this morning, the uncertainty is going to be very, very high.
Yeah. Yeah. Calvin, do you have a number for us?
A number that got really specific on me.
Cool. Sorry.
No, I think that, I mean, it's to Klaus's point, right? Which is that you know, any forecasts ought to be based off of trends, right? And so I think that it's important to acknowledge what trends you have and what apply, even if they're short. And then to really be thoughtful about how you build a trend, which anyone can do this at a Klaus data SaaS, powerful, brilliant RMS style, all the way down to just your property forecast. And so what I recommend is just being very diligent about the things you put into your forecast trend so that you can go back and critique and pivot as you learn, which is, you know what, we assumed this, but that proved clearly not to be something, so you move somewhere else. So what I would say is it's going to be crappy and short right now, but if you're looking just what you can't do, don't finger in the wind it, right? Like take true trends that you have and then go back and critique the real data you actually have.
And maybe actually, Charlie, on that one, do you think you can extrapolate some data from, for example, website visits or anything like that, or do you think that there's any kind of correlation there that you could ever see?
You mean in terms of which hotels will come back stronger, like different scales? I mean, certainly everyone's expectation is that the luxury end will be hit hardest. We've seen some of our luxury clients really spend a lot of time thinking about segments. So where are there segments of guests who perhaps they on their core customers, they're perhaps reticent to lower rates, but how can they tap into different segments who they could now get into the hotel, at a much lower rate? And I think just going through a segment by segment, but yeah, certainly I definitely think that, and there's some other questions about which parts of the market will come back fastest or best. And I think you've got to assume it's a price conscious customer out there.